The diplomatic ship moved slowly through the bright clouds of Virex Prime. Its surface reflected colors no human eye had ever seen before. Inside the ship, the human delegation sat in silence. No one spoke. No one joked. This was not Earth space anymore. This was the heart of the largest alien empire ever discovered. Elias Carter stood near the observation window. He was not a diplomat. He was not a soldier. He was a logistics officer, chosen because he had experience with long missions and strange systems. He had survived a deep space accident years ago, one that killed the rest of his crew. The reports said radiation, unknown energy, and luck. Elias never argued with that. He was alive. That was enough. On his left forearm, under his sleeve, was a strange mark. It looked like a faded symbol burned into the skin. Doctors had scanned it many times. No metal. No infection. No explanation. Over the years, it stopped hurting, but it never disappeared. The ship docked with the royal platform. The moment the airlock opened, Elias felt it. Pressure. Not physical, but something heavy. Like the air itself was watching him. The alien guards were tall, armored, and silent. Their eyes glowed faintly as they escorted the humans through halls grown from living stone and metal. Everything breathed. Walls shifted slightly. Lights pulsed like slow heartbeats. The throne chamber was vast. Thousands of alien nobles filled the upper platforms. At the center, on a raised living throne, sat Queen Zalara. She was larger than any alien Elias had seen. Her crown was not worn. It grew from her head, shaped like sharp stars. Her eyes were ancient, calm, and dangerous. This was not a ruler who shouted. This was a ruler who ended wars by speaking once. The human ambassador stepped forward and began the prepared speech. It was respectful, careful, and weak. Elias knew that. But humanity was still new. Weakness was safer than pride. Queen Zalara listened without moving. Her expression did not change. When the speech ended, silence filled the chamber. Then her eyes shifted. They moved past the ambassador. Past the generals. Past the advisors. They stopped on Elias. Elias felt his breath catch. He had done nothing. He stood straight, hands calm, eyes forward. Still, something about the way she looked at him made his skin crawl. The queen stood. That alone caused shock. Nobles leaned forward. Guards tightened their grip on weapons. The throne lowered as she stepped down, each movement slow and deliberate. She walked toward the humans, toward Elias. The ambassador spoke quickly, nervous, trying to explain Elias's presence, but the queen raised one clawed hand. Silence returned instantly. She stopped in front of Elias. Up close, her size was overwhelming. Her shadow covered him completely. He could see fine lines across her face, signs of age beyond human understanding. Her gaze dropped to his arm. "Show me," she said. Her voice was deep but controlled. It carried power without force. Elias hesitated only a second. He rolled up his sleeve. The mark was visible. The moment it was exposed, the chamber reacted. Ancient machines built into the walls awakened. Symbols glowed. Guardians made of crystal and metal stepped from hidden alcoves. Energy filled the air. Sharp and alive. Alien nobles shouted in confusion. Some screamed in fear. Queen Zalara inhaled sharply. She reached out and touched the mark with the tip of one finger. The symbol glowed faintly. Elias felt warmth spread through his arm. Not pain, not pleasure, recognition. The queen's eyes widened. "It really is you," she whispered. The chamber erupted. "What does this mean?" "Impossible." The mark was lost. The human delegation stood frozen. They did not understand the language, but they understood the tone. This was not a misunderstanding. This was history waking up. Queen Zalara turned to her guards. "Protect him," she ordered, "with your lives." That caused more shock than anything else. Elias was gently but firmly moved away from the humans and surrounded by royal guards. No weapons were aimed at him. Instead, they faced outward, as if shielding him from the entire galaxy. The ambassador protested. "Your Majesty, he is a civilian. He is older than your nations," the queen said calmly. "Older than mine." She looked back at Elias. "You carry a promise," she said. "One your kind forgot." Elias swallowed. "I don't know what you're talking about." "I know," she replied. "That is why you are dangerous." The humans were escorted out, confused and afraid. Elias alone was taken deeper into the palace. They brought him to a chamber filled with floating lights and holographic shapes. Symbols shifted constantly, showing stars, ships, and figures that looked human but different. Taller, stronger, wearing armor that seemed grown, not built. Queen Zalara followed and dismissed the guards. "You are afraid," she said. "Yes," Elias answered honestly. She nodded. "Good. Fear keeps the mark quiet." She waved a hand, and a hologram formed. A galaxy map appeared, but it was wrong. Stars were missing. Regions were dark and empty. "This was the galaxy before," she said. "Before your ancestors arrived." Elias stared. "Humans didn't have spaceflight that long ago." "You did," she said. "Then you chose to forget." The hologram changed. Human ships appeared, unlike anything modern humanity had. They were simple, strong, and countless. They moved not as conquerors, but as walls, as barriers. "There was something coming," the queen continued. "A hunger between stars. It consumed worlds, systems, species. Nothing stopped it." The image showed planets vanishing, light collapsing into darkness, until humans stood in its path. 8. Elias felt cold. "They did not win by force," she said. "They won by endurance, by sacrifice, by standing when every other species ran." The image showed humans activating massive structures, seals burning with symbols identical to the one on Elias's arm. "They bound the devourer," she said. "And to do so, they tied the lock to themselves, to blood, to memory." The hologram faded. "The mark is a key," she said softly. "Not to control power. To remind it." Elias shook his head. "I'm just a man." "That," she said, "is why it worked." A distant tremor passed through the palace. Lights flickered. The queen closed her eyes briefly. "The seal is weakening," she said. "It feels you." Elias felt the mark warm again. "What happens now?" he asked. Queen Zalara looked at him with something new in her eyes. "Respect." "Now," she said. "The galaxy remembers humanity." Far away, deep beyond known space, something ancient stirred. Elias did not sleep. The chamber they placed him in was beautiful and unsettling. The walls were smooth and alive, shifting color slowly like a calm ocean. Soft light floated in the air, following his movement as if curious. There were no visible guards inside, but Elias knew better. He could feel eyes on him from everywhere. He sat on the edge of the resting platform, staring at his arm. The mark looked the same as it always had. Faded, quiet, ordinary. And yet the queen had treated it like a crown jewel and a weapon at the same time. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time felt strange here. Finally, the walls parted silently. Queen Zalara entered, accompanied by two figures Elias had not seen before. They were smaller than her, thin, with long necks and layered eyes. Their skin shimmered with data light. "Scholars," he guessed. "You will come with us," the queen said. Not a command, a certainty. Elias stood and followed. They walked through deeper halls, far from the public palace. Here, the walls were darker, older. Symbols glowed faintly, the same shapes as his mark, repeated again and again like a warning burned into history. They reached a sealed chamber. When Queen Zalara placed her hand on the door, it opened instantly. Inside was a vast archive. Floating crystals filled the space, each holding moving images and sounds. The air felt heavy, ancient. Elias felt pressure in his chest. like walking into a place that remembered more than it should. "This is the truth your kind buried," Queen Zalara said. One of the scholars raised a hand. A crystal drifted forward. The image appeared. A human stood on a broken world. He looked human, but not modern. His posture was stronger. His eyes were tired but determined. His arm bore the same mark. "He was called the first anchor," the queen said. "One of many." The image shifted rapidly. Humans building massive structures near dying stars. Humans standing between alien fleets and expanding darkness. Humans refusing to retreat even as ships were destroyed around them. Elias watched in silence. "They did not rule us," Queen Zalara said. "They protected us. They taught us how to survive long enough to become what we are." The image slowed. It showed humans activating the seal. Energy tore through space. Entire human fleets vanished into light, consumed to lock the devourer away. Elias felt sick. "They died," he said quietly. "Yes," the queen replied. "Every last one involved in the final binding." Elias clenched his fists. "Then how am I here?" The scholars exchanged glances. "The humans planned for forgetting," Queen Zalara said. "They knew memory fades. So they tied the seal to bloodlines that would scatter. Survivors, refugees, ordinary people." The crystal zoomed in on DNA strands, shifting and merging across generations. "The mark does not activate in conquerors," she continued. "Only in those who choose to endure." Elias remembered the accident. The deep space disaster. The way the universe had torn open around his ship. The way he had stayed at his station while others panicked. He swallowed. "So I'm a lock," he said. "A reminder," the queen corrected. "The devourer does not fear weapons. It fears resistance." A sudden alarm echoed through the chamber. The lights shifted to deep red. One of the scholars spoke rapidly in their language. Queen Zalara's expression hardened. "They know," she said. "Who?" Elias asked. "Everyone." A new image appeared. Galactic networks flooded with signals. Alien governments. Military coalitions. Fear spreading faster than light. "They sense the seal weakening," the queen said. "And they sense you." The image zoomed in on intercepted messages. Some demanded Elias be handed over for containment. Others demanded his immediate termination. Elias felt cold. "They want me dead. They believe killing the key will end the threat," the queen said. "They are wrong. It would only release it." Another tremor shook the archive. Crystals rattled. Far away, something pressed against the seal. Elias steadied himself. "What do humans do now?" Queen Zalara studied him for a long moment. "That depends," she said, "on whether your kind remembers who it was." They escorted Elias to a secure communication chamber. A direct line to the human delegation was opened. The ambassador's face appeared, pale and strained. "Elias," he said urgently, "are you alive?" "Yes," Elias answered. Relief washed over the screen, quickly replaced by fear. "We are receiving threats," the ambassador continued. "Alien fleets are mobilizing. They want you transferred." Queen Zalara stepped into view. "That will not happen," she said calmly. The ambassador froze. "Your Majesty." "We don't want war." "Neither do we," the queen replied. "But the galaxy has forgotten something important." She gestured to Elias. "He is not your weakness," she said. "He is proof." Elias leaned forward. "Sir," he said, voice steady. "Whatever this is, running won't help. We need to stand firm." The ambassador hesitated. He looked older than Elias remembered. "We don't even know how," he said. Queen Zalara's eyes softened slightly. "You once did," she said. The transmission ended. Moments later, alarms echoed again. Louder this time. A guard entered quickly. "Your Majesty. Hostile forces have entered the outer system." Queen Zalara straightened. "Prepare defensive formations," she ordered. "No, first strike." She turned to Elias. "You will remain protected," she said. Elias shook his head slowly. "That's not how this ends," he said. The queen paused. "Explain." "They didn't hide this in kings or soldiers," Elias said. They hid it in people like me. Because we don't run, we hold. Another tremor, stronger. Somewhere beyond stars, the devourer pushed harder, sensing resistance awakening. Queen Zalara studied him again, then gave a slow nod. The galaxy will test you, she said. Elias looked at the glowing mark on his arm. For the first time, it did not feel like a scar. It felt like a responsibility. Outside the palace, alien fleets gathered, and far away, humanity stood on the edge of remembering what it once was. The first human warship arrived at Virex Prime 3 days later. It was small by galactic standards. Its hull was scarred, patched, and clearly not built for royal display. But it came anyway, slipping through space with quiet determination. Soon, another followed. Then another. Queen Zalara watched from the observation platform as human ships gathered, forming a loose protective ring around the planet. They are not running, one of her advisors said softly. No, the Queen replied. They are remembering. Elias stood beside her. The mark on his arm pulsed gently now. No longer painful. No longer quiet. It responded to proximity. To choice. He could feel it when ships arrived, when humans decided to stay. Across the system, alien fleets gathered as well. Sleek, powerful vessels bristling with weapons. They kept their distance, watching, calculating. Messages flooded in, demands, warnings, threats. Queen Zalara ignored them all. They fear what they cannot control, she said. And they cannot control you. Elias looked at the stars. I don't control anything. No, she agreed. You endure. The pressure began soon after. Space itself felt heavier. Sensors screamed across multiple systems. The ancient seal, hidden far beyond normal space, was under attack. The devourer between stars was pushing outward. It did not roar. It did not announce itself. It pressed. Slowly. Patiently. Like a tide that had never known defeat. In the human command chamber, Elias stood before a live feed of Earth, Luna, and the outer colonies. Faces filled the screens. Leaders. Engineers. Soldiers. Ordinary people who had been pulled into something much larger than themselves. You don't have to do this, one general said. We can evacuate. We can hide. Elias shook his head. That didn't work last time, he said. They stood their ground. A scientist leaned forward. The records the Queen shared. They're real. We've confirmed fragments in our own lost data. Humanity erased its past on purpose. To forget fear, Elias said. To live normally. And now? The scientist asked. Now we choose again. Alien fleets tightened their formations. Some powered weapons. Others broadcast ultimatums. Hand over the human. Destroy the key. End the risk. Queen Zalara addressed the Galactic Council live. You call him a threat, she said. But when the darkness came, it was humans who stood between you and extinction. Where were your fleets then? Silence answered her. The devourer pressed harder. Stars dimmed in distant sectors. Entire systems went quiet. Elias felt it like a hand on his chest. It's getting through, he said. The Queen turned to him. The old seals required sacrifice. I know, Elias replied. But they also required choice. He stepped forward. I will go to the containment zone. The room froze. No, the human ambassador said immediately. Absolutely not. Elias looked at him calmly. If I don't, it will break free. And then, there won't be a galaxy left to argue over. Queen Zalara studied him. You may not return. Elias nodded. They didn't either. Human engineers worked without rest. Using fragments of alien and human technology, they modified ships not into weapons, but into anchors, reinforcement frames, energy dampeners, living shields, just as the ancient records described. Human ships moved first. They did not charge. They formed lines, walls, between the containment zone and the rest of the galaxy. Alien fleets watched in disbelief. They're not attacking, one commander said. They're blocking, another replied. The devourer sensed them. It pushed. Human ships shook. Hulls cracked. Systems failed, but they held position. Elias boarded the lead vessel, a human ship named Resolute. As it jumped into the containment zone, space twisted. Reality bent. Colors broke apart. The Devourer appeared not as a creature, but as absence. A wound in existence. Light vanished where it touched. Elias stepped forward, alone, wearing no armor. The mark burned, not in pain. In recognition, the Devourer reacted. Pressure slammed into Elias's mind. Images of collapse, of endless hunger, of inevitability. He did not fight it. He stood. "You remember us," he said quietly. "We remember you." The mark flared. The seal responded, not to power, but to resistance. Human ships outside screamed as energy surged through them, but they did not retreat. Crews locked systems manually. Engineers rerouted power by hand. Aliens watched in silence as humans refused to move. For the first time, the Devourer hesitated. It had consumed civilizations that fought. It had crushed those who fled. It did not understand those who simply held the line. Elias felt himself changing. Not physically. Internally. The mark connected him to countless others across time. Humans who had stood where he stood. Who had chosen to endure, instead of escape. "You don't get past us," he said. The Devourer pressed once more, and failed. The seal reformed, brighter than before. Not fueled by sacrifice alone, but by cooperation. By many choosing to stand instead of one dying alone. The Devourer withdrew, bound tighter than it had ever been. Silence fell. Human ships drifted, damaged but intact. Elias collapsed to his knees. He was alive. The mark dimmed, settling into his skin like a sleeping star. Queen Zalara watched the containment readings stabilize. "It's done," an advisor whispered. She closed her eyes briefly. Across the galaxy, alien fleets powered down weapons. Messages changed tone. Fear turned to awe. Humanity had not conquered. It had endured, and the galaxy had seen it. Elias was brought back to Virex Prime. When he stepped onto the platform, Queen Zalara did something no ruler of her kind had done in recorded history. She bowed. Not deeply, but enough. The mark on Elias's arm was no longer hidden, and the universe felt a little safer knowing it. The galaxy did not celebrate. There were no parades, no loud declarations of victory, no sudden joy spreading across the stars. What replaced the fear was something heavier and quieter. Understanding. Species across known space reviewed records they had ignored, warnings they had dismissed, and stories they had turned into myths. Humanity had not saved the galaxy with force. They had saved it by refusing to step aside. Elias recovered slowly on Virex Prime. His body was exhausted, but intact. The mark on his arm had changed. It was no longer faded. It was clear, calm, and warm. Like a steady heartbeat under the skin. Doctors, both human and alien, examined him. They found nothing unusual. No implants. No altered biology. Just a human who had stood where others could not. Queen Zalara visited him often. "The seal is stable," she told him one day. "Stronger than it has been in millennia." Elias nodded. "It wasn't me alone." "No," she agreed. "That is why it will last." News spread quickly. Not through propaganda, but through evidence. Sensor data. Visual records. Testimonies from alien fleets that had watched humans form walls, instead of firing weapons. The Galactic Council reconvened. This time, humanity was not seated at the lowest tier. Elias did not attend as a ruler or a symbol. He attended as a witness. Queen Zalara spoke first. "For ages, we believed power meant dominance," she said. "We were wrong. Power is restraint. Power is endurance." She gestured to Elias. "This human carries a mark we once worshipped and later feared. We forgot why it existed. Now we remember." An alien delegate rose. "What prevents this from happening again?" Elias answered before the queen could. "We do," he said. "Not because we're stronger. Because we choose to stay." Silence followed. Then agreement. The council voted unanimously to recognize humanity not as a military power, but as a stabilizing species. Guardians, not rulers. Watchers, not kings. It was a title no one else wanted. Humans accepted it anyway. Back on Earth, reactions were mixed. Pride, fear, confusion. People argued, protested, celebrated, and questioned everything. Elias returned home quietly. No parade awaited him. Just normal streets, familiar noise, and a sky that suddenly felt smaller. He walked through a city park, blending into the crowd. Children played. Couples argued about nothing important. Life continued. That mattered. The mark drew no attention. People did not point. They did not kneel. He was still just a man. Weeks later, the Queen sent one final message. "The seal responds to many now," she said. "Your kind has awakened something dormant." Elias understood. The mark was no longer unique. Across humanity, small signs appeared. Not glowing symbols, not visible scars, but choices. When disasters struck, humans held lines. When panic spread, humans stayed calm. When others fled, humans remained. The galaxy noticed. Pirate empires avoided human space. Not out of fear of retaliation, but out of certainty. Humans would not chase. They would block. They would endure until threats lost meaning. Years passed. Elias aged. The mark did not fade. He took a simple job. Taught history at a small academy. Not the official version, but the honest one. The kind that admitted fear and failure alongside courage. His students listened closely. "What makes us different?" one asked. Elias smiled slightly. "We don't break easily," he said. "And when we do, we still show up." Far beyond known space, the devourer slept. It was bound not by chains, but by memory. By a species that did not need to remember every detail of its past to live by its values. Queen Zalara stood before a monument on Virex Prime. It showed no weapons. No battles. Just a line of human figures standing shoulder to shoulder, facing darkness. Inscribed below were words translated into every known language. They did not conquer the night. They stood until morning came. Elias never saw the monument. He did not need to. He looked at the sky sometimes, feeling the steady warmth in his arm, and knew that if the universe ever darkened again, someone would stand. Not because they were chosen, but because they were human, and that was enough.